everyone! Today I want to talk to you about how to answer the "What are your weaknesses?" question. The "What are your weaknesses?" question is an evil question. While all questions are important, this one is an exceptionally tricky one to answer. You have to answer the question because otherwise you won't get the job and you'll probably seem like you're not very in touch with reality. But at the same time, if you do answer the question, your interviewer is basically asking you to put yourself down and to give them reasons why they shouldn't hire you. Ugh, it's just so evil. Not to fear. In this video, I'll tell you 3 techniques you can use to answer this question. And these 3 techniques will make it pretty easy for you to answer it. So, here we go. As I mentioned, there are multiple ways to answer this question. A very common way to answer this question is to present a weakness that is both a weakness and a strength. Most people who use this technique will probably say that their weakness is being a perfectionist, because really being a perfectionist, while it is a weakness because you may have a hard time finishing things on time and you can't let things go, at the same time it's really a strength because who doesn't want somebody that strives for perfection? When I first started interviewing, that was the method that I used. But now that I've been around the interviewing block a couple times, I much prefer the next 2 methods that I'm about to show you. The second way I like to answer this question, which is the first of the 2 that I prefer, is to state the obvious weaknesses that you have. Why open a new can of worms when you can just state the obvious and give them a weakness that they either already know or would have been able to figure out on their own? For example, when I was applying to MBA schools straight out of undergrad, and also when I was applying for my first job, I obviously didn't really have any work experience, and so that's what I used as one of my major weaknesses. Of course, the second most important part about answering a weakness question is what I did next. So first I told them, I don't have a lot of work experience. And then I said, but I don't really see that as an issue because I have a lot of other experience that I think would be very valuable. I have experience doing internships, I have experience from part-time jobs, I have experience working in clubs. I happen to be president of one of the clubs, I use that. I said I have experience volunteering, which has taught me lots of leadership skills. It's taught me to, roll up my sleeves and get my hands dirty, things like that. And the final method for answering this question is to think about the question in terms of not so much weaknesses, but in terms of areas of improvement, because essentially they're different words for the same thing, kind of. So think about things you would want to learn, or think about things you wish you could do, or think about areas where you wish maybe you were a little bit better. So someone might say, I wish I could be better with computers. But then of course you always say, but I really don't see that as an issue because I'm very comfortable with computers at a very intermediate level. I know PowerPoint, Excel, Word, basic programming, but I would just like to really up my game in that area. I would really like to perfect my skill. You might say, I would like to be more comfortable presenting in front of others, or giving presentations, or my presentation skills. But I know that I can do it, and I know that it's definitely a very real possibility for me because I used to be president of X Club and I had to speak in front of a group of people on a weekly basis. You could say, I would like to read more, I would like to be more of a reader, and say I don't see that as an issue because I've already put together my book list for the next few months, and I'm already halfway through my first book, or my first magazine, or my first white paper, whatever it is that you decide you want to read. Just pick something that isn't really a weakness, it's just something that you want to improve on. But also keep in mind the following 3 things. The first thing you want to make sure you do not do is don't pick something that you want to improve on and that be something that you need for your job. For example, in finance, you really need to know a lot of Excel, you need to know a lot of macros and VBA and all that good stuff. So you wouldn't want to say that your area for improvement is that you would really like to be better at macros or be better at Excel or anything of that nature. Even if you really do want to be better at it and you really are kind of using this job to help you perfect your skill, you don't want to use that because they're already expecting you to be good at that. They're expecting that to be your strength. If you're in sales, don't say something like, you really want to work on connecting with others or building your network, because they're hoping that you already have that walking in the door. That's a crucial element of getting the job. But at the same time, you do want to make it somewhat relevant to your job. If you're applying for some kind of business position and you decide you want to use reading as an area that you'd like to improve on or something you'd like to do more of, if they ask you, oh, would you like to read, or oh, what's on your reading list, don't list the latest vampire novels or the latest fiction or fantasy or whatever. Instead, you want to list business books, or say you'd like to read more about business, and maybe you can narrow it down a little bit more. And just say that you'd like to be up to speed. That's why you want to read about it. You have a lot of knowledge about it, but you want to stay current. But basically, keep it relevant. It's really more about finding the balance. Just don't pick something you are required to have to get the position, and pick something that's really more related to growth. And finally, don't pick something that is really huge that could potentially scare them away. You want to keep it very simple. Pick simple things that are easy for you to do and something that you would actually be interested in doing as well. Okay, wrapping things up, I do want to tell you one more thing. Make sure you have at least 3 weaknesses to talk about. Most interviewers will only ask you, to give them one weakness, because they know that it's an evil question. But I have been asked to provide 3 weaknesses in the past, and I know that it's definitely a good idea to have 3. 3 is a pretty roundabout number, and hopefully they wouldn't ask you more than that, because that would just be cruel. So just prepare 3 answers for that question. Rank them in order of what you'd like to tell them, and just tell them in that order. So if they only ask you 1, you give them the smallest weakness, and if they're happy with that, great. If not, you can move on to 2 and number 3. Other than that, if you like my videos, then please subscribe and check out my book, 25 Things They Don't Teach in Business School. It's a great guide for office politics and dealing with different interpersonal situations at work. And check out my blog. It's at www.consultingforrookies.com. And until next time.